The December 16th, 2013 meeting of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners will please come to order. We wish to thank you for attending tonight, those who are here with us and those who may be viewing at home. At this time, I want to call on Commissioner Billy King, who will provide the invocation and the pledge.
Let's all please stand. Gracious Lord, our Father, we humbly bow before Thee, giving thanks for the many blessings that You have bestowed upon us. We thank You for our life, health, and strength, and for allowing us to see the ending of another year. We have so much to be thankful for. We thank You for providing us as commissioners with wisdom as we take care of the affairs of our community. We thank You for the leadership that has guided us along the way. We thank You for our staff that has provided services to the citizens of this community. Finally, as we approach the holiday season, we thank You for Your Son Jesus, who was born, died, and rose for the remission of our sins. In Your holy name we pray. Amen. Amen. Join me in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The next item on the agenda is the public comment period. Do I have the manager, Mr. Martin? In 1 minute. And while we're waiting, let me wish all of you a happy holiday season, and may the very worst day you had this year be the best day that you have. No, wait a minute, that's not right. Now, you know I didn't mean that, don't you? I'm trying to ad-lib, and I ad-lipped. A flip of the lip. You know that we wish for you a happy holiday season and a prosperous and healthy new year. When I get that saying straight, I'm going to change the minute, ask for a motion to change the minute so I can put it in there right. But I want you to have a good day, and more good days than bad. Okay, Mr. Martin, are you ready?
Madam Chairman, I apologize for the false start. I thought I was ready, and then I learned I wasn't. But anyway, your public comment period shall last 15 minutes. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes to make remarks until the 15-minute time limit is attained. We would ask speakers to come to the lectern and to state their name for the record, and I think that's the general essence of your policy.
All right, thank you. Are there speakers?
There are no speakers this evening.
All right. Very good. Then we'll go to the next item. We have several outgoing board members tonight, and we are going to be, let's see, I think about 4 of us are going to recognize the outgoing board members. This is one of the most important things that we do, is to have the involvement of citizens in the affairs of government. So we are very, very happy to have you participate. First, we'll have Commissioner Kenneth Edge, followed by Commissioner Charles Evans for 2 recognitions, and then 1 by me, and then Commissioner Ed Melvin.
I'm very sorry that the remainder of my colleagues did not get the memo about wearing red tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, it's as Commissioner Council has stated, we couldn't do our business in the county without our people that serve on our boards. And so this time I'd like for Carrie Tyson Autry to come forward, if she's here. She is not here. Well, we're going to recognize her anyway. She did an outstanding job on the Board of Adjustments, and we congratulate her, and maybe she'll be here at another time and we can give this to her.
Good evening. It is beyond an honor for me and a privilege to present these certificates of appreciation to two outstanding men of our community. And if they don't mind, they have something in common that I would like to say they have something in common. Both of them are like pit bulls. When something comes before the particular board that they serve on, they both grab a hold to it and make sure that it's done correctly. And the first person that I would like to recognize is Mr. Tom Kane. As he's coming up, I've had the opportunity to work with him on the Parks and Recreation Commission and also the Senior Advisory Board. And we're still going after that Senior Citizen Center, sir.
Yes, we are.
County of Cumberland, Certificate of Appreciation presented to Tom Kane for outstanding dedication and service on the Joint Senior Citizens Advisory Commission from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners dated the 16th day of December 2013 by our chairwoman, Jeanette Council, Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. So we thank you for everything that you have done and going to continue to do for Cumberland County. Thank you so much. Would you like to say a couple of words, sir?
Yes, I have thoroughly enjoyed it. I have been able to make a difference in the lives of quite a few senior citizens in this county and this city, along with Mr. Watson back there. Me and Bill didn't always see eye to eye, but we always discussed it till everybody saw what we wanted them to see. And Mr. Watson has done a great job, and I've enjoyed serving with him and all of the others on the board. And Mr. Evans, I thank you for the help you have given me when I have called you and needed it.
Thank you very well. This way, sir. Excuse me, Mr. Securitizer.
These are all good people to work with and for, folks. I'd advise you to volunteer and get in it.
Before the next gentleman comes up, I would like to say just a little bit about this young man. It goes back to, for those of us that remember, Alexander Graham Junior High School. That's right where the Board of Elections is located at now, next to the Highsmith Hospital. This gentleman was my industrial arts teacher. Not only could he make a good mailbox, but he could make an outstanding paddle. and I remember that so well, Mr. William Watson. On behalf of the County of Cumberland, Certificate of Appreciation presented to William Watson for outstanding dedication and service on the Joint Senior Citizen Advisory Commission from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, dated this 16th day of December 2013, signed by our chairwoman, Jeanette Council, on behalf of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. Thank you, sir, for an outstanding job, as you always have and continue to do. And thank you for serving the citizens of Cumberland County. We really appreciate your work, sir. If you would like to make some comments, now's the time.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Evans. I worked with Charles over, as he said, at Alexander Graham Junior High School. Also with Commissioner King, and also the chairperson of the commission, this commission, Ms. Jeanette Council. We worked with PACE, if you remember.
Yes.
Political Action Committee with the old NCTA, North Carolina Teachers Association. And I've certainly enjoyed working with the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee. We had a grand time. We didn't get things done as we thought they would be, but there's always a better day. We know that one day we're going to get that senior citizen complex. So we certainly enjoyed it. I was raised on Fayetteville State's campus. I was born east of the railroad track. And our swimming pool at that time was a place we called Snaky Beach. That's a little creek that runs behind Fayetteville State. That was the only place we had to swim. But we're going to see better times as time moves on and we get a little more money in the coffers. Thank you very much for appointing me. I believe Commissioner Fairclough was the one that appointed me. Yeah. And I think Jeanette Council Commissioner Council might have recommended my name to you. But anyway, I certainly enjoyed it, and we had a wonderful time. And I stand to serve on any other committee if you would like. Just call on me. Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Watson.
Well, I get to come back again. Ms. Tyson Autry came in, and she was a little bit late getting here, but Carrie, if you can make your way up here, we'll read this certificate and present it to you. On behalf of the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, we'd like to present this certificate of appreciation to Carrie Tyson Autry for outstanding dedication and service on the Board of Adjustment. From the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, dated this 16th day of December, signed by Jeanette Council, our chairman. And we really appreciate what you do, because some things don't get to us because y'all take care of them in the Board of Adjustment. So thank you so much. Would you come around here and you can have a picture made with Santa Claus.
I know he's not out of film.
One of y'all's out of focus.
Okay, there you go. Good deal. Do you have anything you want to say?
Thank you very much.
We'd like-
It has been an honor.
Thank you. If you go around and shake everybody's hand.
Thank you.
Here again.
This time I keep it thin for now.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
While Commissioner Council was coming up, I'd point out that Carrie's dad and her brother both served on this board a few years ago.
Thank you. Colonel Wright? I see you've got a past chairman with you. I happen to have known this gentleman, come right here, please, for many years. I didn't know him in his military life, but I've known him in his educational life and as a volunteer. The library board, which is represented here tonight, is one of our most active boards. They come to all of the meetings, even committee meetings. When we are deliberating on the budget, they are here. I encourage you to participate as they do. They keep an eye on the money. Mr. Wright is an accomplished traveler as well, and has toured about most of the world, haven't you? Not most of the world. What was that?
I don't know.
Crew, but never mind. He sent, but anyway, for this particular occasion, we are presenting him with a certificate of appreciation presented to Willie Wright for outstanding dedication and service on the Library Board of Trustees from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners. Thank you so much for your service. You have some words? Okay. Comments?
I would just simply like to thank the commissioners for their support of the library, to thank the board for their strong support as I served as the chair, and that great, wonderful library staff that the county of Cumberland should be so proud of. We won 2 major awards this year, one federal and one state.
And now to recognize one of our retired employees, Commissioner Ed Melvin.
It's a great honor tonight to recognize William Duke is retiring from our Department of Social Services. William, would you please come up and Brenda Jackson accompanied him. She is director of our Department of Social Services. Brenda, would you like to say a few words about WEAVE?
I had the pleasure of having one of the shiniest of our shining stars here tonight as a retiree, 27 years of service with the Department of Social Services. During his last 5 years with us, as I was the leader, he was Assistant Director for Adult Services and Business Operations. And as we look back at social services, you look and you see the imprint that Bill made on our agency, what you will see is someone who led our care center, our domestic violence center, and our only domestic violence shelter. And he made that premier domestic violence services in the state. We're one of only 2 DSSs that have a domestic violence center, and it was under Bill's leadership that he made it an award-winning center. Also, you look back and you see that we won the Best Practice Award for the Senior Health Fair, and under Bill's leadership, he was able to provide services in our community to our seniors and to work collaboratively with community partners to provide such service. And in his last 2 years, he served as our business assistant director for business operations. And what you'll see as his legacy is the automation that he was able to bring to our agency to help our workers do their work better. So it's with sad hearts, but so excited for the accomplishment that Bill has made in his service to the Department of Social Services that we present him his retirement.
Bill, I already miss you. I serve on the Department of Social Services Board, and I go to the meetings now and do not see Bill, and I tell you, I miss you. You were a great worker, done a great job for this county. Let me present you tonight with your William Duke Cumberland County Board of Social Services in recognition of outstanding service to the citizens of Cumberland County, December 26, 1980 to May 23, 1985, and then from November 19, 1990 to September 1, 2013, from the Cumberland County Board of Commissioners, December 16, 2013.
And our immediate past chair, Jimmy Keefe, who served on the 2013 Agricultural Hall of Fame nominating committee, will make the next 3 recognitions.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's kind of appropriate that we get to do this tonight because for those of you who don't know, we are actually having a public forum tomorrow starting about the opportunity of a farmer's market, and I think it kind of segues really well into what we're having, because I think in the past couple of years, all of us have gotten a whole new appreciation what kind of community we live in and the impact that agriculture has on our community. I'm very, very pleased to be able to make these presentations tonight, and as I do it, Lisa, I'm going to ask you to come up also. Lisa is our cooperative extension, and our first recipient is Mr. Julian McIntyre. Come on up, Mr. McIntyre. I'm going to talk about you for a little bit, and then I'm going to let you talk about you for a little bit. How's that sound? Well, the first thing you need to know about Mr. McIntyre is he is a World War II veteran, and at the age of 18, you got a little letter in the mail, didn't you? Sure did. Yeah, they told you to come on to the Army, didn't they? Yes, they did. Well, from that time on, Mr. McIntyre, he worked in a couple different counties after he got out of the Army. Graduate of NC State University, imagine that, in the agricultural field here in North Carolina. Went to a lot of different counties. Let's see, we have Sampson, Scotland, Craving, Catawba, and finally found a home in Cumberland. Yes. From talking with Ms. Childers and people who knew Mr. McIntyre as they were working, he was always a guy that would get his hands dirty. He didn't mind walking the fields and doing what had to be done, and he always treated everyone like he'd like to be treated himself. Retired in 1986, and at that time, He said he was going to probably have a very relaxing retired life, but that didn't happen. And just recently, I was privileged to be able to be with you when you were inducted into the Agricultural Hall of Fame of Cumberland County. So congratulations to that. We have a little plaque for you. Thank you. The plaque says, 2013 Cumberland County Agricultural Hall of Fame Inductee Award presented to Julian H. McIntyre in recognition of a lifetime contributions and accomplishments in agriculture. Presented by the President of the Kiwanis Club of Fayetteville, November 22nd, 2013. Again, Mr. McIntyre, thank you for everything you do. Thank you for your service to our military. Thank you for your service to Cumberland County. It's a pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Please.
Thank you very much. This is a great honor to be selected for the Hall of Fame, Agricultural Hall of Fame, and I appreciate everyone who had a part in my selection. Thank you very much.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your service, Michael.
Our next inductee really in the agricultural world needs no introduction. So, George, I'm going to ask you to come on up real quick, and we'll go over a little bit about what I know about you, which isn't near what the stories I've been told about you. Well, George has spent his entire career with the North Carolina Cooperative Extension, had a little bit of time in Halifax County before you found a home here. That's right. The stories behind George are numerous, and some of them quite entertaining, but I'm not going to waste anybody's time with that if you'd like to share one or two. But under George's leadership, he fast became the standard of which other agriculture agents are measured by. And Cumberland County really put us on the map, if you will, about what things we are doing with his activities in the 4-H clubs, to actually, George, with the Charlie Rose Center was part of what you did, and working with the youth. I know when I was just on for a short time, when you decided to leave, it seems to be a pattern sometimes when I come on, good people leave. But we had Lisa came in, and I knew she was very concerned and had some big shoes to fill. But I want to take this time I was proud to be part of the nomination committee of when you came here and when you got inducted into the Hall of Fame. And as you can imagine, another NC State grad. Well, what would you guys do if a Carolina graduate ever got into farming here? Has it ever happened?
I have worked with some there.
Oh, okay. If he had to, on a professional. But George has got a long, about page 3, I just said I'm not going to be able to read all these things that he's done, but he has had such an impact on Cumberland County. The Hall of Fame induction is well-deserved and probably even a little bit overdue. But George, thank you for your service, and I've got a plaque here for you also. And this one is the 2013 Cumberland County Agricultural Hall of Fame Inductee Award presented to George Raz Autry in recognition of a lifetime of contributions and accomplishments in agriculture. So George, that being said, the mic is yours. Tell everybody, and let's get a picture. Thank you. George, please.
I'd like to say, like Mr. McIntyre, that I consider it also a great honor to join the Agricultural Hall of Fame and to thank everyone that had something to do with that. And also, I want to thank the Board of Commissioners. I've worked with you all over the years, and the staff, James Martin, and before him, Cliff Strassenberg. the support for extension in this county is boundless. I don't know of any other county that was supported like we were. And I know it continues with Lisa, and I do appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks, George.
Finally, we're going to shift from these Hall of Fame inductions to we're going to take it down the years down a little bit, and this is for the outstanding young farmer in Cumberland County. Mr. Ryan Kennedy is a very amazing story, actually. When I was reading his bio and I was talking to some people earlier, Ryan is a fifth-generation farmer in this community. According to some of the bio, his great-great-grandfather, John, actually tilled some of the land in Grace Creek with the two mules, and he did his farming that way, and he did what had to be done. And through each of the generations, they've come over until now with Ryan in this position. It's ironic that Ryan is getting this award tonight because 50 years ago in 1963, his grandfather received the same award. So I thought it was really neat that we could give, as our current commissioners, could give this same award to Ryan. But it's not because it wasn't earned. Ryan has graduated from NC State University. It just goes down generation to generation to generation, and has really put a lot into the agriculture of the community. It's a great choice as a Young Farmer of the Year. Ryan, if you would, come on up. And I got a plaque for you, Ryan. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And this says, 2013 Cumberland County Young Farmer of the Year, awarded to Ryan Kennedy in recognition of his outstanding contributions and accomplishments in agriculture. Ryan, let's get a picture of me. Feel like saying something?
Sure.
Okay, please.
I'd just like to thank my family for their love and support, and all my friends back in Grace Creek, and it's a big honor to get this. So thank everybody that had a part in nominating me. So thank you.
Good work. Lisa, do you want to say anything? Sure. Ryan, congratulations.
Thank you. Okay.
The next item is the approval on the agenda, and I think there may be changes. Mr. Martin?
Madam Chairman, members of the board, I do have some proposed and requested changes. First is item 4D. We have a revised resolution and a revised map regarding the Bragg Estates Water and Sewer District, and Mr. Brown, the county engineer and infrastructure director, will actually give you more information about that change. This is actually adding one additional parcel to the proposed boundaries of the district. Also, I'm aware that we need I'm also just told that we wish to pull item 7 from the agenda. That would be to remove it from the agenda entirely. And then for item 10, closed session, if needed, we actually would propose an attorney-client matter as item 10A, and item 10B as a personnel matter.
All right, you've heard the changes.
Move for approval, Madam Chair.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda as amended. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you. The next item is the presentation of the 2012, fiscal year 2012 annual audit, and I'm going to call on Deputy Manager Ms. Amy Cannon, I believe, who's going to present. But anyway, Ms. Thompson, you already at the mic. Hello and welcome.
Hello. It's the holidays, so I'm here again.
Thank you.
To do my annual Good Cheer presentation on the audit report, and I have brought you a Christmas present this year, and that is I've shortened this presentation. So I hope that y'all will enjoy it. Anyway, so let's just get started. That did not work. All right, so the first thing I know you want to know is what are the results of the audit. So I'll tell you right up front that the county once again received a clean or unmodified opinion. That is the highest level of assurance that an audit firm can provide. So once again, the county did receive that. So let me tell you a little bit about the reports that we do issue and give you those results. Generally accepted auditing standards require that we provide an audit opinion on the financial statements themselves. That's the actual financial numbers, on whether they are fairly presented in all material respects. Again, the county has received an unmodified or clean opinion. That's the highest level of assurance. This report can be found on B1 of the financial statements. And again, this is the financial statements. They're a very large document, so I will refer you to the pages where you can find these reports. Also, when performing an audit for a governmental entity, we have to follow a set of auditing standards referred to as the government auditing standards. And these require that we issue a letter that talks about compliance with laws and regulations and internal controls. And that can also be found in the compliance section at the back of the financial statements. The purpose of that report is to describe the scope and the results of that testing, but not to provide an opinion on internal control over financial reporting. Under the requirements of OMB Circular A-133, we are required to perform an audit of federal and state awards. The auditor is required to express an opinion on the government, whether the government complied with laws, regulations, and provisions of contracts and grant agreements, and determine whether there were any material impacts on any of the programs we audited. Again, the county received an unmodified or clean opinion. Additionally, you will have received a letter from us, which is required to be issued every year, which basically is from me to you, the governing board, that expresses certain matters that we need to bring to your attention. Most of the time it's the very basic things. Are we independent? We let you know if we're independent, which we must be. We describe any significant accounting policies or refer you to where you can find them, and we discuss the nature of the estimation process in these financial statements. That letter had nothing unusual in it. The only thing it does point out is the adoption of a new new accounting standard in the current year. So that would be the one thing that was different this year. So I would encourage you to look at that letter at your convenience. So let's get to a summary of the results. This slide shows the original budget approved by you, the amended budget approved, the final actual numbers, and a variance between the actual final numbers and the amended budget. As you can see in yellow, the general fund's expenditures and other financing uses exceeded revenues and other financing sources by about $2.3 million. Note that this is better than originally planned, and if you can see under fund balance appropriated, you originally approved a budget that would have resulted in a $6.2 million deficit. And throughout the year, you approved amendments that would have allowed for $23 million deficit, which is basically you driving into using money out of the fund balance. In the end, you only ended up needing to do $2.3 million, so you did better than you originally budgeted. So what I want to do is talk to you a little bit about the variances on the revenue. So if you can see the fund balance appropriated, the $6.2 million was what you originally budgeted to be the amount that you would pull from fund balance. Throughout the year, you amended it to say you were going to pull $23 million out of fund balance. At the end of the year, you only needed to pull $2.3, so you did better than you expected. All right, so let's talk about the positive variances that existed that allowed you to not have to dive into fund balance. In the revenue side, Almost every category had a positive variance. The only category that did not have a positive variance was restricted intergovernmental revenue, and this is primarily due to the fact that if we don't incur the expenditures, we don't incur the revenue. So some of these reimbursement-based grants result in, if we incur the expenditures, we'll get the revenue. So in that case, there was about $3.1 million of revenue that we did not receive, but again, we did not incur those expenditures. On the expenditure side, you can see that there was a positive variance of $21 million from what was budgeted. Health and Human Services, as we just discussed, restricted intergovernmental revenues. We did not incur around $4 million in expenditures there, of which around $3 million was related to those reimbursement grants, so therefore that corresponds to the revenue variance. Actual personnel costs, including fringe benefits across all operating departments, was $5.2 million less than budgeted. Basic operating expenditures across the same departments was $4.2 million below budget. And then not reflected in the annual actual expenditures are about $3.5 million of encumbrances that will be carried over into this, which was carried over into the budget you're currently operating under. This slide breaks out the components of fund balance into the categories of fund balance. The first there is non-spendable. Inventories is a non-available resource because you cannot spend it, so therefore it's categorized separately. The next section are the pieces of fund balance that are restricted. This classification includes revenue sources that have external to the county restrictions and therefore are restricted for specific purposes. So for example, a portion of that is the stabilization by state statute. There's a state statute, 159.8A, that requires that that number be calculated and restricted. And then 10% of the fees collected by the Register of Deeds is restricted to pay for computer and imaging technology. Again, a third-party restriction, so you're required to set those monies aside. Committed. That next category requires a resolution approved by the majority of you. So this is something that you choose, and therefore that part is separately reflected as committed. Assigned are the funds set aside by the board for future use. Those assignments on fund balance are shown on this slide. So you can see the areas there. Some of that is subsequent year's expenditures. So on the previous slide when I talked about encumbrances that carry forward, that would be in the subsequent year's expenditure number there. You can see in blue that $31.7 million is unassigned and represents 10.19% of the current year's expenditures. Note that that the county commissioners had approved a policy that required that number had to be at least 10%. So it's 10.19%, so you've met your policy. The total available fund balance, which includes both assigned and unassigned fund balances, is 23.65%. This amount exceeds your 15% minimum. So again, this board had set two policies on fund balance. One was a 10% policy and one was a 15% policy, both of which were met. And this slide gives you a little bit of a history around those policies. So these policies were set during the 2002 budget process. The funds in excess of 10% can be set aside. So what you can see here is the red line represents the local government commission's recommendation, which is 8%. The magenta line is your 10% policy, and the green line is your 15% policy. So you can see over the years where those numbers have been in terms of what you've been able to reserve in fund balance. On behalf of Cherry Beckert, I'd like to thank again the county, the staff for their help in preparation of the financial statements. They see us around April, and then they don't see the back of us until tonight. So it's a long time to have to put up with auditors around you. So I want to thank them for their assistance and their hard work in putting this report together. So are there any questions?
I see one, Mr. Key.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The increase in the 15% fund balance to the 23, isn't there a higher requirement for us to have restricted funds, though, with some of these state agencies?
The state law is the 8%.
Right. No, I'm sorry. If you go back to the restricted funds, the stabilization by state statute, has that been consistent?
There's a mathematical calculation to compute that number that's based on the receivables and payables that are on the balance sheet. So that is calculated every year, and it'll depend on what the financial position on the balance sheet looks like.
But the unrestricted staying at around the 10% mark, and the restricted looks like it went up quite a bit.
It will have to do with when payables and receivables come in. The timing at year end could affect how that calculation would work. And then the assigned piece there is where you would be able to say, okay, we don't have the funds to assign because of those numbers are where they are. So that's where you'd be able to make sure you stay within your policy. But that calculation of 27 does change depending on what's going on the balance sheet, which is a timing issue for payments.
So is 23% a timing issue also?
The 23% is just an actual calculation based on what's available at this point.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other questions? If not, thank you.
All right. I think that the only thing is left is for y'all to accept the audit.
So moved, Madam Chair.
Second.
I have two motions and a second.
I think I did it first, ma'am.
You did. I'm sorry.
Can I make a comment before we vote?
If we have a discussion on the motion, okay, before we vote.
I'd just like to make a special effort to thank Amy, Alyssa, Howard, and all of the finance staff because year in and year out we get a good report, and we couldn't do it without them. So I just want to make that point before we call the question, Madam Chair.
All right, thank you. You've heard the motion. If there are no other comments, those of us who are in favor of the motion?
Unanimous.
Okay, thank you. Now, next, we have the approval of the consent agenda as approved.
So moved.
As amended, I'm sorry. It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Thank you. Item 4. It's public hearings. Mr. Martin, would you please read the public hearing procedure?
Yes. Thank you. Arguments by the proponents and opponents shall be limited to a maximum of 10 minutes for each side, and rebuttals will only be permitted at the discretion of the chairman with a maximum of 1 3-minute presentation by each side. We also later have some minimum housing code enforcement hearings as well, and those are quasi-judicial, and each person appearing before the board will be administered an oath by the clerk, and any speaker may cross-examine the testimony presented before the board, and that is in relation to the minimum housing cases.
All right. Mr. Lloyd, do you have anything to add regarding the uncontested rezoning case?
Yes, ma'am. Just to background this, there is no opposition to case P1346. Back in 2007, it had a conditional use district and permit approved. There's now new owners. They want it taken off to be able to just develop it. The planning board recommended unanimously for A1, which was fine with the applicants. So there's no opposition.
All right. Then we'll open the public hearing. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
There are no speakers, so I'll close the public hearing. Are there questions?
House motion approved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the staff recommendation for P1346. Those in favor?
Unanimous.
All right. Mr. Hatcher?
How you doing, Board? I have two cases tonight. They involve single-wide mobile homes. One of them's partially burnt, and the other one's had renovations unapproved on and has been abandoned by the property owner. And that first case is...
Mr. Hatcher, may I address Mr. Bill?
I'm sorry.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and the whole truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
Our first case is MH 109, 2013. This property owns by Donnie Ray BOC heirs and Richard Joseph Jarvis. It's located in the subdivision off of 301 Nashville Drive. It's a single-wide mobile home that's been abandoned for about 2 years. There's been unapproved work to it, and we've been receiving complaints from the neighborhood on it, so we're seeking demolition of this property. You don't see the grass overgrown on it right now, but the property's not being maintained during the summertime either. It's unsecured, and we're seeking immediate demolition on this.
All right. We will open the public hearing on this case. Are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
Then we'll close the public hearing and open the floor for questions by the board.
I'll make a motion.
Mr.
Can I see a picture of the place again? What was...
Okay, it doesn't look bad because all that work that's been done to it's been covered up. There's no permits been issued for any of this work, and so the looks are a little deceiving on it. It's infested with roaches. The neighborhood's calling our office every 3 months about this mobile home. Property owner has not even cut the grass in 2 years.
You don't have an outside picture of it? Showing the condition of it?
Well, it's winter time, and
Okay, right there, it's on the left?
that's on the left, yes, sir.
On the left?
Yeah, the grass isn't grown, but overgrown at this time, but it will be in summertime.
I'm impressed with that.
Are there any questions?
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
Question.
Question.
Yes, sir. Quick question. The property owners, are they residents in Fayetteville?
Actually, the Donnie Von Voss is dead, and the son is in Massachusetts.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, I make a motion.
All right, Mr. Key?
To adopt the order and report the minimum housing inspector as the true facts in this case, and to order the property owner to remove or demolish a dwelling within 30 days. To order the inspector to remove or demolish the dwelling if the owner fails to do so, and impose a lien on the real property for the cost of such action. And also to direct the clerk to incorporate the foregoing findings and orders and the ordinance certified by the chairman and record the same in the Register of Deeds.
Second.
All right, you've heard the motion. Those in favor?
I have a question before we vote.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is anyone locally managing this property?
No, sir.
Okay, all right, I'm sorry.
No further.
I have one question, too.
Okay.
Is this a mobile home that can be moved?
Yes, sir. Mhm.
Can be moved? Okay.
Okay.
All right, if no other questions, those in favor of the motion?
Voting in favor is it is unanimous. No, I'm sorry. Voting in favor, Commissioners Evans, Melvin, and Edge, Chairman Council, Commissioners Faircloth and Keefe. Voting in opposition, Commissioner King.
All right, thank you. Mr. Hatcher.
My next case is MH 277, 2013. This is owned by Ida Mae Flood heirs, located on Wall Street in Linden. And this is the remnants of a burn trailer that's left, so we need to get this lot cleaned up immediately.
I agree with you.
You want to make that motion?
All right, are there, I'm going to open the public hearing. Are there speakers?
There are no speakers.
We'll close the public hearing. Are there questions? If not, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question about that property. Yeah, it needs to be cleaned up, man, but I'm just curious to know, have you been in contact with the property owners? I mean, is that...
Our legal service has been by certified first class in posting the property. When I was out there on my last visit, there were some people that were getting the framework off of that trailer, and that's as far as they got with it, as far as cleaning up the lot. So.
Madam Chair, I make a motion.
Are they, Mr. Keith?
Make a motion to adopt the order and report to the minimum housing inspector as the true facts in this case and order the property owner to remove or demolish the dwelling within 30 days. To order the inspector to remove or demolish the dwelling if the owner fails to do so and impose a lien on the real property for the cost of such action. Also to direct the clerk to incorporate the foregoing findings and orders in accordance certified by the chairman and record the same in the register of deeds.
Second.
All right, you've heard the motion. Those who are ready to vote, those in favor of the motion?
Unanimous?
Thank you.
Board.
Thank you. Our next public hearing, Mr. Brown, Jeffrey Brown, who's our Engineering and Infrastructure Director.
Good evening, Madam Chair and the board. What we have before tonight is a public hearing on the Bragg Estates subdivision. At the November 18th meeting, the board approved, set a public hearing for tonight. The purpose of tonight's public hearing is to entertain comments from the public. We have posted the notice of the public hearing at the entrance of the location of the subdivision, as well as been advertised in the newspaper 3 different times. The purpose is to create a water and sewer district for Bragg Estates for the purpose of applying for low-interest loans or grants to deal with the septic tank failures that are experiencing, that are ongoing within the subdivision. So tonight we're going to hear comments during the public hearing, and then after the public hearing is our recommendation that the board pass the resolution to create a water and sewer district for Bragg Estates. I'll answer any questions at this time. I do need to go back to the earlier comment. We did have a request come in today to our office by Ms. Frances Tart. That's was mentioned earlier about the revision as far as the agenda, the map that has been passed out to you. The top triangle parcel, it has been requested by the property owner to include this in the district boundary.
Mr. Edge.
Is that anything developed in that portion that doesn't show it on the map?
It's an undeveloped, open parcel of land at this point in time, 8.05 acre tract.
Madam Chair.
Mr. Keith.
Yeah, Jeffrey, are you aware of the number of failing septic tanks in this area? And how many actual residential lots are we talking about?
I don't have that exact number. I think it's around 150 some as far as lots. It's my understanding there are 7 identified unrepairable septic tanks within the subdivision at this time.
7 unrepairable?
Yes, sir.
That currently have a structure on a single-family housing?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
All right. If there are no other questions, let's open the public hearing. Are there speakers?
We do have speakers this evening. We have 1 speaker in opposition, 1 speaker in favor, and 4 speakers in opposition.
All right, if I'm correct, then we have 10 minutes per side. Is that right?
This would be a general public hearing. You could apply those restrictions to, yes, Madam Chair.
10 minutes per side. So if we have 4, 2.5 minutes. All right, Madam Clerk.
Our first speaker in favor is Ms. Frances Tart.
Thank you, Chairman, Council, and Board of Commissioners, for the privilege to speak to you tonight concerning the establishment of Bragg Estates Water and Sewer District. My name is Frances Melry Tart, and I reside at 234 Courtyard Lane, Fayetteville, 28303. My late husband and I purchased the property known as Bragg Estates in the early 1960s. He, along with the late Mr. T.E. Koontz, built most of the homes in the development. The now vacant lots were plotted during this time, and plans were to continue building. However, the soil would not permit this, and we had to abandon the further development. My family owns all of the vacant land down to Little River, with an additional 8 acres on the north end of Kenwood Drive. For several years, there have been many problems with septic tank failures in this area, creating health hazards and preventing future development. Cumberland County is extremely behind adjacent counties when it comes to providing infrastructure needed to encourage development. This property is in very close proximity to Fort Bragg, and development could add considerably to the tax base of the county. The availability of sewer would also enhance the value of existing homes in the areas. I do not know who is here to speak in opposition to the establishment of this district, but I would like to remind you that having, as all of you are aware, having available sewer and water enhances property values extremely. And with state statutes as they now exist, when you sell property, you must give full disclosure as to any problems within that area. So the property owners need to be aware, if they are opposed to this district, that they would be benefited greatly in the future by having this district. The county needs to vigorously pursue grants and low interest rate loans from the U.S. Department of Agriculture and the Clean Water State Revolving Fund. We need a strong lobbyist to accomplish the receiving of as many funds as we possibly can receive. I urge you to create the Bragg Estates Water and Sewer District. It is the right thing to do for the citizens of the area and for the county. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Tart. Madam Clerk.
Our first speaker in opposition is Mr. Jerry Ricker.
I didn't get that last name.
Ricker. Is that correct, sir?
Correct.
Thank you.
Madam Chairperson, council members, friends, and family. I'm in opposition to this for many reasons. One, I will tell you, if we had had a door-to-door poll of the residents of the neighborhood, we probably wouldn't be here tonight if this is about what the neighborhood needs. What this will do is this will benefit real estate developers, certainly. There's been no plan, to my knowledge, of how this is all going to be accomplished. Who is going to pay for it? The homeowners are the ones that are going to pay for it. The real estate developers will benefit. It makes them easier to develop that land and go on. Many of the neighbors or people that have lived in this neighborhood have lived there from the beginning, or quite a few of them, or at least the homeowners. Some have left the area and now rent their property. It sounds like there's some confusion as to how many of these systems are completely unrepairable. And if these systems may indeed be unrepairable, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't go in with a new system. If we're talking getting loans and grants to help out what may be the real estate developers, let's talk about getting loans and grants to help out these families that may not be able to afford to put in those new systems. A lot of people have put a lot of money into their households there. As a homeowner, I'm not looking forward to having to spend a lot of money to connect to a sewer system I don't need. Now, I do know my home's had an upgrade within the last 10 years. This was the family home, and my mother had had that done. So it is possible to fix these things. You know, we're talking, you know, a smaller amount compared to what could be an overall large amount of connection fees, increased, you know, I'm sure there'll be some charge for sewer. Sounds like I'm about out of time. But once again, I oppose this, and I would ask that the council consider that and possibly solicit more from the homeowners.
All right, thank you.
All right.
Madam Chair, Mr. Ricker, are you a resident of the proposed district?
Yes, I am.
Okay, I want to clarify with the record. Thank you, sir.
The next speaker.
Our next speaker is Mr. Matthew Guy.
Madam Chairwoman, gentlemen of the board, I am also a resident of the Braga State area, and I am also opposed to adding in this service out there as well. And with that, I'd like to yield back the rest of my time.
What is your address, please?
1348 Vass Road, Spring Lake, which is also in the Braga State area.
Vass Road.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, you're yielding your time.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Mr. Ricker, what was your address, please?
1136 Riverside Circle.
1136 Riverside. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Our next speaker is Patricia Notine.
Patricia.
Good evening, Madam Chairman and council members. My name is Patricia Notine. I do live in Riverside Circle. I live at 1120 Riverside Circle, and we also own the house at 1122 Riverside Circle. In 2009, we knew about these issues, as my neighbor at 1118 is the one that had an open cesspool in their backyard. We approached the county asking for how we can make this happen, myself and my neighbor, and I believe Councilmember King was at the meetings, and they informed us that we had to have 51% of the homeowners sign a petition before the county would even look into this event. And that hasn't happened that I'm tracking, and then all of a sudden we have this hearing here. I'm opposed to this as we've tried this before. The homeowners did not want it in 2009. The ones that owned the residence, myself and my neighbor, knocked on the doors. We went and we pulled the county records. We were contacting as many as we could, and nobody wanted to sign a petition saying, let's try to do a sewer system. If we were able to do this in 2009, we probably would have made this a lot cheaper than it's going to potentially be. Myself, we have our septic system. We replaced it in 2008, and the county had made us do all these things. It cost us over $8,000. So like we said, as we've gone to the county, myself and my neighbor who has since moved out, and none of the neighborhood wanted to do it at that time. So I'm requesting that you guys look into that. The other thing is, like I said, we were told then we had to have 51% of the homeowners before you guys would even listen to us. But yet, we're here at this meeting, and myself, my husband, we were never contacted if we wanted to go through with this or not. So that was my other concern, is how did this come up here? Pending any questions, that's all I have for you.
Thank you. Next person.
Our final speaker in opposition is Ms. Betty Guy.
Yes, I'd like to thank the Cumberland County Council for allowing me to speak. My name is Betty Guy. I live at 1106 Vass Road, Spring Lake, North Carolina. My husband and I moved there in 1970. Our home was built in 1966. We still have the same septic tank that we had then. We're still using the same septic tank. I'm told that some of these homes in the Braga Estates have an excessive number of people living there and using the facilities, which is going to overload a septic tank. My husband passed away in October, so of course my funds have been cut down greatly, and I would like to be honest, I don't believe that I can afford to have the lines put in and pay all of the extra expenses that they would like to charge if they put this water system in. The water company, Aqua, did come through there a while back, and at that time, us being on Bass Road, they tore off our driveway with the concrete because we'd put in there the front, and we had a big mess with that, and took us a while to get it fixed. In fact, after they supposedly had it fixed, it kept being like a sinkhole out in front of our home. And I had to call and have the people that take care of the roads to come in several times and take care of that. I don't need a septic tank. I feel bad for the people that do, but I can't see uprooting everybody out there to fix something that very possibly could be fixed in another manner. I can see that it would be beneficial to the realtors. They had tried to put homes in down on the river, I was told several years ago, and because of the perks and things, I believe they were not able to do it at that time. But I agree with the other speaker. If we could have a signing or have a little more information to the members of the Bragg State area, I think there could be a different outcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
We have no further speakers.
No other speakers. Then I am going to declare that the public hearing is closed, and I'm going to open the floor for questions by the board. I see hands. Mr. Evans, next is Mr. Fairclough, then Mr. Edge, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brown, could you come to the mic, please? How many, maybe I missed it or somewhere along the line during your explanation when you first started, how many of these septic tanks that's not in working condition there?
It's my understanding from the information we got from the health department, there are 7 that are unrepairable at this time.
Okay. So the health department did inspect these items and came up with that determination, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Let me ask you this, if you know this. Bragg Estates, is that mostly rental property, or is it mostly rental property?
I can't answer that question.
Yes.
No, sir.
Okay. Thank you. This gentleman, no, this young lady right here.
Yes, sir.
If you don't mind, Madam Chair, I'll finish it, wrap it up right quick. I just want to know, most of the residents that live there, are they in rental properties or are they property owners?
When we talked to them in 2009, it was about 50% were rental properties from foreign military personnel that moved off.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'm not sure if this question is for Mr. Brown or not. If we approve this district, well, maybe this is for the manager, I don't know, but if we approve this district, what's different about this as opposed to the Grays Creek, where the people voted not to have it? What say do the people in Bragg Estates have over this? Is there a petition calling for this from the Bragg Estate people, or what? How did this come about? I'm curious, just same as the residents are.
My understanding is, going back several years, and someone mentioned 2009 or 2008, and I believe it goes back further than that, we've had various complaints about septic tanks that actually were bubbling up, sewage bubbling up in the ground. Someone mentioned Mr. King attending the meeting out there. I didn't go to that meeting, but I think our previous infrastructure director did. There's been a great interest by some people out there who were having, maybe it's just those who were having particular problems, but there has been an interest from some in that community for some number of years, and we have attempted to pursue the possibility of grants and loans and those kinds of things. What this would do, actually the creation of this district doesn't do anything in particular except create a geographic footprint, makes the commissioners in essence the governing body of that geographic footprint, and it would then give us a separate legal entity from county government through which to apply for loans and grants. And if there were some that were available, then we'd come back with some proposal that would be, we've got, I don't know what, just to pull a number, let's say a $10 project. It'll cost $10 to get sewer in everybody's total, to everybody's property line, and it'll cost them 50 cents, and we'll get 75 cents or 50 cents in grants, something like that. And I know I'm using actually an absurd example here, but the creation of the district doesn't do anything to the property owners. It's in essence a legal. It creates a separate legal entity through which we would seek to acquire loans and grants for that, to try to correct the sewage problem in that particular area.
May I follow up, Madam Chairman, just briefly? Okay, if we create the district and then we're successful in finding some money somewhere, what role then will the people have? My concern is 150 people, only 7 of which have problems, so the other 143, how would they be affected? Or would they have some say-so later?
There would be a proposal coming back to the Water and Sewer District about what the cost would be to the property owners, and at that point, the governing body of the Water and Sewer District would decide whether or not to accept any grants or to accept any loans. I guess there's some potential. I'll ask the county attorney to help me with this. If there was going to be funds actually borrowed, that very well might take some referendum of the people within that district, as did the Grays Creek project. I'm not sure if that's correct.
Grays Creek was a bond referendum. The Water and Sewer District was created in advance of a proposed bond referendum for the financing. I don't think there really is a proposal on the table at this point for the financing or whatever will happen here, but
there's no proposal on the table that would correct the sewage issue tonight. This actually is only to the creation, just to determine whether or not you wish to create the boundaries for such a district.
Okay. Mr. Edge, and then Keith, and then Evans.
Marshall asked some of the questions I was going to ask, but I have a couple other ones. By creating the district, the only thing that it happens is that opens the door for us to apply for the grants or the low-interest loans. Is that correct?
For that particular district and the entity that's represented within those footprints, yes.
All right. Is there a point in time that the residents would have a vote on anything? I know it's not a bond issue. I understand the difference. Is there any point in time that they would have a vote on anything?
If there was a proposal to issue debt, then there would have to be a bond referendum. I believe that's correct. I'll ask the county attorney to confirm or deny that.
it depends on the source of the loan. The USDA loan, yes, they would require a bond referendum, but it's just with respect to the financing. This public hearing is the input for the residents and the notice that was given to them for the public hearing for their input at this stage of it.
Let me add, too, that it also depends on the type of bond that you're looking at. If it's a general obligation bond, then obviously it does have to be voted on by the citizens. If it's a revenue bond, then not necessarily it does have to go to the citizens for a vote prior to.
But to ease their mind, by creating the district, we're not saying to anybody that has spoken against it tonight that it would cost them any money at this point in time.
That is correct. All we're doing right now is creating a district, creating a legal boundary to allow the county to move forward to apply for grants and low-interest loans in order to provide sewer into the area that's been identified with the boundary.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Keith?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Is there any way we can get this map? Do we have the map on the PowerPoint?
I don't have a digital copy.
I got the map, but I just wonder if we can talk about what's going on. Daniel, can I ask you to come up? Okay. I see, we talked about 150 parcels out there. How many of them actually have structures on them? Is it 150 structures or are there 150 parcels?
I am not sure exactly how many houses.
Okay. Well, because what I'm wondering is, if it's 150 lots, and some of them don't have structure on them, we don't know if they would be candidates for improper.
The ones that we do have, through the years, we've got repair permits that have been issued on many partial repairs, but most of these systems are 40 to 50 years old. What we're doing is doing partial repairs because there's lack of available space to actually repair.
Okay.
As the other lady was saying, it cost $8,000 because she had to repair off-site.
Okay, well, you're going into where I was going for it. Now, we talked about 7 non-repairables, okay? And I'm going to assume that means also non-replaceable.
Correct.
Right, okay. So there is absolutely nothing that can happen on that piece of property as far as a living.
The only thing they can do is apply for a pump and haul permit, which is they cannot physically use drain lines. They have to keep pumping the system out weekly or even more.
Okay. Is this a 7-parcel problem, or is this a larger problem that we're continuing to cover up?
This is going to be a potential larger problem because more and more houses are going to start to fail, and they're not going to have the space to fix them.
But you have to grant permits.
We would do the pump and haul permit, correct, and that would give them the opportunity to stay there, but they would have to pump out the septic system more frequently, and it's very costly.
But you can't do any, would you authorize any new construction out there from what's out there now?
They would apply for a permit, and we'd have to do an individual evaluation for each lot.
Okay. And the last thing is, I don't know if you're familiar with the map, but it's a pretty wide area. Is most of these failures or most of these repairs in a concentrated area, or is it sprinkled throughout the entire district?
There are several concentrated areas, but it's throughout the entire area because the lots are kind of alluvial, and the low areas are the ones that are having kind of problems.
Okay.
Thank you. Mr. Evans, I believe you're next.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Oh, was it?
Didn't you finish? You had 5 questions.
Oh, is there a quota?
I'm trying to go around. I mean, I'm sorry.
I'll wait for Commissioner Keith. I think Commissioner
I'm sorry. Do you have another question? I'm sorry. Commissioner Keith was not finished.
Okay, that's fine.
I cut him off after 5 questions. Go on, Jim.
My bottom line is, Daniel, if there would be no additional building permits granted in this area as it currently sits, without, in its current state, is that the Public Health Department's?
Each lot would have to be individually evaluated. I'm not sure which ones have been evaluated because back in the early 60s and 70s, it was done by a perk test and large tracts were done. Currently, we do a soil evaluation for each individual lot.
Is there a chance for a community-type septic area?
It'd have to be somewhere off-site in a large system, more than likely.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask, Mr. Keefe asked information from someone, and I did not ask for an identification as to who you are.
I'm Daniel Ortez. I'm the Environmental Health Director for the county.
For the citizens who may be watching or may be wondering, I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you.
I should have done that at first. Did you? You got follow-up? Oh, okay. Which one is next, Evans or King?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brown, quick question.
Yes, sir.
According to, I heard someone state that they were not told about tonight's meeting, or that this will be presented tonight, if I understood correctly. Did I understand that correctly?
No, sir.
You didn't know anything about it?
No, it wasn't that. It's just that there was no real solicitation of the neighborhood. Had there been some kind of a poll that we could actually gauge the opposed versus those that were for.
Okay, okay.
And we probably would not have been here.
Okay, thank you. How were the residents notified in this community about this proposal, this resolution?
If I'm not mistaken, we mailed out a letter to each one of the residents, as well as posted it at the entrance of the subdivision, and also advertised it in the newspaper.
So each resident, each property owner was well aware of this being presented to the Board of Commissioners tonight?
That is my understanding, yes, sir.
Okay, all right, thank you.
If I'm correct, we paid $432 for the newspaper advertising. Mr. King?
Madam Chairman, fellow commissioners, I wasn't sure what year it was, but I had the opportunity to visit the area. What first led me to this community was there was a home out there that no one could live in because of the septic system. That's what kind of led me to the. And then we had a follow-up meeting at a church over near the school. I can't remember the school, but county staff with Mr. Cooney and I did have a meeting with the community, and there were some problems identified. And so at that time, the point was made, I think, that there had to be a certain percentage of the community had to sign on to it for it to go forward. So it kind of, at that point, we just kind of just stopped at that point, and nothing happened further. But realizing the situation there in that community, and it seems to me that the only thing that we're talking about doing here is creating a district. And once the district is created, Mr. Brown, some ways of trying to resolve the problem will be sought. So it just seems to me that realizing the problems that I have seen out there, that they were there several years ago, and I imagine they're still there, that we ought to just move forward and create the district, it seems to me. But there were some real problems there, and I think the point was made that there were only about seven systems that were failing, and of course the health department. In other words, there were some people who owned property they couldn't even live in. It was that serious. They still held mortgages or whatever and couldn't live in their homes, and because of what the deplorable situation that the citizens were facing. So it's something that we ought to, in my mind, go forward with.
Mr. Brown?
I need to correct myself. We did not send letters out because it was not required, but we did advertise in the paper, and we did post in the subdivision.
Okay.
I apologize for that misstatement.
All right. Thank you. I knew that our information did say that it was advertised in the newspaper. I remember discussions with our federal lobbying team about this area, and what we're asking the citizens to understand is that what we're trying to do is just to create the district, to explore. Before we do anything at all, we will have to, if I'm correct, Mr. Manager or Mr. Attorney, we will still have to have a vote.
Not necessarily. It depends on what type of financing is done.
Okay, the financing, then I'm wrong. All right.
I think you could do that. It's not a legal requirement that you do that. Maybe some of the confusion is in 2009 with the 51% petition, that was at that time a proposal to do a county assessment, not to create a district, but where the property owners themselves voluntarily agreed to an assessment on their property to create a system. And that's not what this is at all now.
All right. Thank you. Mr. Brown?
I'd just like to point out, too, that we're not asking the board to do anything tonight that we're not have already done for Overhills. We're just, that's another similar situation. So I just want to remind the board that, that district was created and we were successful in getting a low-interest loan to move forward with the septic system there. But, we're not moving forward at this point in time due to the fact that, the terms of the loan are not affordable to the citizens. So we understand how sensitive that is from a cost standpoint. So I just wanted to remind the board tonight that we're not doing anything as far as creating a district here that we haven't done previously in Overhills. And we just felt that if we were doing it for one portion of the county that, we needed to also be fair and look at the other area that had issues as well.
All right. Thank you. And to the citizens, we have these areas all over the county. Ideally, if we could go back, turn back the hands of time 50 years, we would have water and sewer throughout the county, and we would not have this problem at all. But it keeps popping up, and it's a situation that we usually try to rectify. Mr. King?
Madam Chairman, I'd like to offer a motion that we adopt the resolution creating Bragg Estates Water and Sewage District.
I'll second the motion.
It has been moved and seconded that we adopt the resolution creating the Bragg Estates Water and Sewer District. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Melvin?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. My concern is so that these citizens will know that if this vote passes, it is just looking into it to see what we can do down the road. This is not a vote to charge them any monies or create anything at this time. Am I correct?
That is correct.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right. No other questions here, no other hands. Those in favor of the motion?
Voting in favor, Commissioners Evans, Edge, Chairman Council, Commissioners Faircloth, Keefe, and King. Voting in opposition, Commissioner Melvin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He was for it.
All right, thank you.
It was for.
So it was unanimous.
It's unanimous.
Thank you. It is now unanimous.
All right, thank you. The next item is, you all want a break? The chairman of the Tourism Development Authority, Mr. Tan. Your annual report, welcome.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Board of Commissioners.
Thank you.
I'm Vivek Tandon, here on behalf of Tourism Development Authority to present the annual report for 2012-2013 year. I think you all have a copy of this. Our revenues for the year were close to $5.1 million collected. Out of that, 1.274 was divided or given to the Crown Coliseum as well as the Arts Council. We had about 2.3 that we contracted with the Fayetteville Area Convention Visitors Bureau and had about 212 discretionary funds left for the Tourism Authority. Out of that, as you can see, we had a balance, beginning balance of 2012, July 1st was 756. We ended with 623,000. Out of that, we spent about $248,000 in grants to various organizations, some that we had not met the obligations for previous years, and at the end of that, you can see what we've spent on. We've given money. We gave about $75,000 for a marketing plan to be jointly done for downtown Fayetteville, Vets Park, ASOM. We gave money to fraternities, the National Fraternity. They held a function here. They decided to have it in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and brought in members all over the nation to stay in Fayetteville and see some of the attributes that that Fayetteville has or Cumberland County has. We gave it a Junior League every year. They've been holding a great event, the Holiday Fair, bringing a lot of vendors to come in and stay at our facilities. And then Fayetteville Duck Derby, a new community effort to raise money, I think, for the schools. Other monies that from previous years, there were some balances left for Spring Lake. Some of that money was given to them for economic development, marketing, trying to change images over there. Botanical Gardens, went to their marketing plan. Hope Mills, they've become a new township that's coming to the board asking for money. Looks like the last 2 years, they're putting up a lot of billboards. They do have one hotel in the market that does provide occupancy dollars to the area, and the area is growing, and they're trying to promote the area. Civil Wars, they've been an ongoing agency that we've been funding for several years. Money, I guess, that's left that we have obligated to is another fund, marketing fund for Cape Fear Botanical Gardens. We did sponsor or provided funding for the Cumberland County Parks and Rec for their Christmas event. I think it's being held at Arnett Park. Hope Mills, second year of funding for their marketing plan. And then the Swamp Dogs, basically helped them since Fort Bragg had canceled their 4th of July ceremonies and fireworks. Swamp Dogs decided to take that on as a responsibility, and that came to us for funding, and we had approved that. And that's basically it. Are there any questions?
Yes, I have one. I heard you say that you gave some money for a Christmas party?
Well, it's a Christmas event. It's for the schools as a promotion. They're throwing it at Arnett Park as Christmas lights and throwing different functions during the holiday season, and raising money for the schools, if I'm correct. Candace, do you remember what they were raising money for?
It went to the City of Fayetteville Park and Recreation Department for a Christmas display and event at Arnett Park.
Okay. I just understood that it was always for tourism to bring people in. That's just what I wondered.
It is. Well, the way they're selling it is they're trying to market it to other cities for people to come to see their events.
See the Christmas lights.
See the Christmas lights.
Okay. Oh, Mr. Evans.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Out of the listing that you gave, and maybe I missed it, but we have been a community that love to showcase diversity here in Cumberland County. Out of any of those individual listings or individual items or groups that you named, how many of them would showcase the diversity that we have here in Cumberland County?
Well, I mean, the Botanical Gardens, it's showing a venue, something that the community has to offer to our patrons that come to visit the county. Duck Derby is something for the community, trying to bring other communities to participate and look at cultural tourism, creating positive images for the town. And that's what we're finding ourselves. We're having a lot of agencies coming to us, asking for these funds, trying to create the positive image of this community and city and county. And we feel like that is a plus for hotels. Creating that image, trying to bring in people, reading news articles, being put into the North Carolina magazines, getting better ratings on our community, because it's people have different images, and we feel like this is part of the building awareness and image of the city and county.
Well, don't you think it would be better if we showcase? We have a multitude of people and different cultures and lifestyles right here in Cumberland County. We love to talk about it. Don't you think that we would like to spend some of those monies as showcasing that may entice other people from other neighboring states or counties or to come and spend money here because of the diversity that we love to brag about?
We do, but we have the Art Council that does the International Folk Festival that shows our cultural diversity.
And that's it.
And that's it. But we give money to agencies that come to us, for funding. So that's how we look at, someone came to us, we look at it.
Madam Chair.
You choose, you act on the requests that actually come in.
Correct.
Madam Chair, if I'm not mistaken, and maybe Mr. Tandon failed to remember, but there was a significant contribution to federal state for their opera program, whether it was last year and the year before.
Several years, yeah.
There was it, and they came to you and did that. So I'm not sure exactly, specifically the question, but I mean, it's to promote tourism in this community. And I know that you've had a pretty diverse group that's come in there. Thank you.
Okay. Are there, Mr. Edge?
Maybe we left something out here, and maybe there was not anything left out, but on this memo from Mr. Martin to the commissioners, it says attachment at the end, but there's no attachment there.
Yeah.
Was that a written report that you had, or just verbal?
In regards to the funds?
Yeah, what you're just reading from, or do you have a written report?
Yeah, it's a internal audit, I guess,
Actually,
performed by Tammy.
It was on the
I can
previous
respond to
agenda.
that. Actually, somehow we failed to attach it to this memo on the 16th, but we had this schedule, if you recall, on November 18th or whatever the third Monday was, and we had the report there. Somehow I failed to get it attached to this.
I just, if I may have it, and I'm sure Mr. Martin did it to
It will
me.
be in your agendas for the November 18th. Is that it? It'll be in that background.
Okay, all right, thank you.
November 18th, all right. Any other questions, any further questions? If not, thank you for your presentation.
Thank you, and I wish you all happy holidays.
Thank you. Thank you much. I'm sorry, Mr. Moorfield? Item 6.
Yes, Madam Chair. This is pretty simple. Attorney Steve Bunce, doing a closing back in September, I believe, overstated the amount of the excise tax on the conveyance, the deed stamps, and has asked for a refund for the county's portion of that as $100. It's recommended by the Register of Deeds and myself.
So move.
Second.
Those in favor?
Unanimous?
All right, thank you. Item 8 is next, nominations to the Workforce Development Board. Is the only one, I think.
Madam Chair, I would move that we appoint Catherine Johnson to third term.
All right, thank you. If there are no other nominations, then Vice Chairman Kenneth Edge, would you please complete item 9 for us?
Yes, the appointments to the boards and committees, and there's an equal number on all of these to the Board of Health. The optometrist position is Dr. William Philbrick. The engineer is Dale Price. For the Cumberland County Emergency Planning Committee, there's 2 vacancies, Lieutenant Robert Dickey and Ronnie Willett. Joint Senior Citizen Advisory Board, George Hatcher Sr. Transportation Advisory Board, 6 vacancies, Keena Farrington, the reappointment, Eloise Garvin, the reappointment, Angelita Marable, Carla Smith, Brian Pierce, and Deloma West. And I would move that all those be accepted.
Second. Those in favor?
Unanimous?
Thank you.
Madam Chair, can I ask a question, please? Mr. Moorfield, do we have to do, ask a question? On the appointment to the workforce development, we're extending a term past a 2-term limit. Do we have to do anything else other than that?
It's your term limit, so you set those term limits.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
I was hoping you were getting ready to, what did we just do? This closed session, Mr.
Madam Chair, I would move that we go in closed session for the purpose of receiving advice from attorney and also for personnel matter. I do not have the statutory references. I'll ask the attorney to cite those, please.
143, 318.11, 3, and 6.
All right, thank you. Those in favor?
Need a second.
Second.
Second. Those in favor? It's unanimous.
Unanimous.
Thank you. We are now into closed session.
Is it our fix?
Second.
Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Those in favor?
Unanimous.
Meeting is adjourned.
Cool.